Good afternoon and welcome to Pittsburgh City Council's Cablecast public hearing for Saturday, December 4th, 2021, relative to a potential annexation of Wilkinsburg. Will the clerk please read the subject of the hearing?
Today's hearing is in reference to the proposed annexation of the Borough of Wilkinsburg into the city of Pittsburgh.
Thank you. And for the record, we are joined today by council members Coghill, Gross, Strasburger, Kraus, and Councilman Lavelle. Did I get them all? And Councilman Wilson. Thank you. Did I get all the members? I want to make sure I didn't miss anyone. Okay.
I'm here as well, Madam President.
Wilson. Yes, we mentioned you. Thank you, Councilman. And if new members or other members join in, we'll announce them as they enter. We will now move on to testimony from registered speakers. Once your name is called, please state your full name and address for the public record. Each speaker will have 5 minutes to address council. 3 minutes, I apologize, 3 minutes to address council. If you did not register in advance, we will open up testimony after we have exhausted the list of registered speakers. Non-registered speakers will receive 1 minute to testify. Please keep in mind that this is an opportunity for the community to speak up directly to Pittsburgh City Council about the issue at hand and a time for council to listen. Therefore, council will not be responding to individual comments or questions. Our first speaker is Tracy Evans. Tracy Evans?
Yeah.
Please come to the podium. When the green light comes on, you have 3 minutes. When the yellow light comes on, you have 1 minute to summarize. And when the red light comes on, your time's expired.
Okay. My name is Tracy Evans. I'm the Executive Director of the Wilkinsburg Community Development Corporation. I live at 614 Whitney Avenue in Wilkinsburg. Good afternoon, President Cale Smith and Pittsburgh City Council members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name, as I said, is Tracy Evans. I've lived in Wilkinsburg since 1987. I've been on many boards and commissions, been actively involved in the community. I was an elected council member between 2006 and 2012, and I've been the executive director of the Wilkinsburg Community Development Corporation since 2010. Wilkinsburg has made progress in many areas. There has been investment throughout the borough, nearly $100 million in funding for support for affordable housing, parks and infrastructure, school buildings and educational improvements, and business district development. The median home price has increased over the past 10 years. New businesses have located in Wilkinsburg. Vacant properties are being restored. We celebrate these successes, the hard work and the commitment by so many people. We want to see Wilkinsburg grow and be prosperous for all. Despite these efforts, Wilkinsburg is not growing. Wilkinsburg's population continues to decrease. The results of the 2020 census are startling. Wilkinsburg's population was 15,900 in 2010. Today, it has decreased to 14,300. That's a 10% decrease in 10 years, far greater than was anticipated, and very different from what our neighboring communities have experienced during the same time. Wilkinsburg's Black population decreased by nearly 2,200 residents, over 20%. During the same time, the Black population in Edgewood, Penn Hills, and Churchill grew by almost the exact same number. What has worked are our current partnerships with the city of Pittsburgh. I skipped a little bit. Excuse me for 1 minute. There we go. Wilkinsburg, Pittsburgh, and our school districts have successfully combined several functions over the past 15 years. We have contracted, Wilkinsburg has contracted with the City of Pittsburgh Sanitation Department since 2006. We have full integration of Wilkinsburg's Fire Department into Pittsburgh's department since 2011. And the public schools have consolidated their middle and high school into the Pittsburgh Public Schools since 2015. Consolidating Wilkinsburg and Pittsburgh through annexation would generate benefits for residents of both jurisdictions. Cost efficiencies and rebalancing, revenue rebalancing. I'm done. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm going to spell the last names on all these. Vanessa, Buffry, Bouffrey, Vanessa.
Yes, that's me. Can you hear
Morning.
me? Hello, everyone. My name is Vanessa Bouffrey. I'm an elected school director in the borough of Wilkinsburg. My address is 821 Mifflin Avenue in Wilkinsburg. I'm coming here today not just as an elected board member, but also as a resident of Wilkinsburg and formerly a nonprofit program director, which did focus in the Wilkinsburg area. Since I moved here in 2018, I have personally and also witnessed a lot of other neighbors and community members completely devastated and oftentimes pushed out by the burdensome property taxes and also many of the barriers that come to enabling full growth within our borough. Sometimes these are just the literal barriers, like the taxes for example. Sometimes it's that we have short staffing in our borough's essential functions. For example, this summer, the code enforcement department was not staffed or was not answering phone calls or responding for at least a month, which was holding up house sales and also is a danger to rentals to get occupancy permits and people safe and livable housing. Over time, we felt that many of these concerns were falling on deaf ears, and last summer, we started a citizen-led merger analysis committee. I was the co-chair along with Tillman, who is a property developer more broadly in the region and is another Wilkinsburg resident. Both of us were principally concerned actually with equity issues because the current property tax equation, the current housing stock, the fact that our rents are actually similar to those of Pittsburgh, but to lower effect in the quality of housing and services has led to, as Tracy Evans pointed out, a huge exodus of low income and particularly low income people of color from the Wilkinsburg area. And that has included so many of our neighbors. These concerns were echoed from many of the residents that participated in the merger analysis committee, and it really provoked us all to start doing research and due diligence to make sure that if anything did happen or if we did consider merging or other options as well, that it would be in the ultimate best interest to keep our community as whole as it could be, to allow residents who want to stay to continue to stay, to allow our business owners to thrive, particularly with an administration that is straightforward, clear, that we can apply for permits and can operate our businesses, and also just live as residents and achieve what we can with as few barriers as possible.
And our next speaker is Bernard, Wetzel. Wetzel. He's in person. Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for this time. My name is Bernie Wetzel. I live at 424 Whitney Avenue in Wilkinsburg. My family moved into Wilkinsburg in 1937. I graduated from Wilkinsburg High School. I know Wilkinsburg. More relevant to today, in the 7 years leading up to this past June, I was board president of the Wilkinsburg Community Development Corporation. We did a lot of very good things during that period. But when the conversation turned to the possibility of annexation or merger, it was unanimous on our board and staff that we needed to go to work, roll up our sleeves, gather the information, assemble the facts, get the data together to determine whether we would advocate for that. We did it. Over many months, we collected that information, and with the help of hundreds of our residents, we analyzed it. The case is clear. It's very compelling. The vast majority of our residents will be better off as a part of Pittsburgh than in Wilkinsburg. Taxes cut in half. Access to greater capabilities resides in city government. Greater access to programs and initiatives in the city. So what we're asking of City Council is to let democracy work. Let the voters in Wilkinsburg determine their future. Let us vote on whether it makes sense to become a part of the city of Pittsburgh. Now, there are those in Wilkinsburg who are opposed to this. So be it. But let them make their case to the voters. Let's roll up our sleeves, talk to our constituents. And by the way, in putting myself in your shoes, all of that shouldn't be of great concern. Your constituents want to know, is this going to be a burden on the voters in the city of Pittsburgh? We hired two firms, HR&A out of New York and PFM out of Philadelphia. Their results said, this is not a burden at all. In fact, it would return more than $1 million a year to the city of Pittsburgh. So what we're asking for is, in fact, to embrace democracy and let the people decide. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next speaker is Madeline, Gioffre. Madeline, you're online.
Hello. Hi, my name is Madeline. Can you hear me?
Yes, please continue.
Okay, my name is Madeline Joffrey. I go by Maddie. I'm a resident of Wilkinsburg, 513 Peebles Street. My husband and I moved into the area in January of 2020. I'm from Pittsburgh originally. He's not, but we both went to CMU. We're very familiar with the area, and we absolutely love our neighborhood. We love the neighbors. We love the area. We really want to stay, but our property was recently reassessed, and our taxes are going to more than double. And we're a one-income household, and it's just probably not going to work out. And I'm honestly nervous about selling my house because a house 2 doors down that's exactly like mine couldn't sell because of the high taxes. So I just feel like we're perpetuating this vacant housing problem. And I'm hoping that, merging with the city of Pittsburgh and reducing the tax burden will really, really help that issue. That's really all I had to say.
Thank you. And our next speaker is Ian, Petrulli. I don't want to say in case I mispronounce him. Ian is not on. We'll go to our next speaker, and we'll try to come back to Ian. Ed Donovan, Donovan. Ed Donovan. You on? He's not on. Our next speaker is Dean, Brandt. Dean, he's on. Hi, Dean. Good afternoon. Please unmute your mic.
Hi,
Hi, good afternoon. Please continue.
my name is Dean Brandt. I live at 509 Cole Street in Wilkinsburg. I've lived here for the past 27 years. And I'm not sure where I stand. I'm actually curious just to hear what everybody has to say. I suppose in terms of being a property owner, I would benefit from that. In terms of income tax, I would not benefit from that. But I think for the community, I'm not really sure what the answer is, but it sounds like a good idea to at least give the residents of Wilkinsburg the opportunity to vote, and let everybody in the community decide, not WCDC, not the council, but everybody in the community, as long as obviously it's going to benefit the city of Pittsburgh as well. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Alexander Denmarsh. Alexander on? Alexander is not on. We'll come back if we can. Ashley Diehl. Ashley is on. Ashley? Please
Hi, how
unmute.
are you?
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi, my name's Ashley Diehl. I live at 805 Rebecca Avenue in Wilkinsburg, and I'm a 20-year resident and 10-year small business owner in Wilkinsburg. I love the Wilkinsburg community. I love my neighborhood, and I'm hopeful for our future. In the 20 years I've lived here, I've seen multiple waves of new leadership come through with lots of motivation, energy, and dedication to helping stabilize this community. I've seen a lot of good people bringing their best ideas and making their best efforts to make a difference here. I'm always personally grateful that these people are willing to give their time, energy, and care to working on the issues we face as a community. However, in spite of decades of sincere dedication and earnest effort, our community has continued to struggle. As Tracy Evans outlined, we've continued to lose properties to dilapidation and abandonment. We're losing population at a rate much faster than our surrounding communities. I definitely understand the fears that people have about the changes that may come with a merger, but the threats that our community faces due to our high property tax rates and the lack of resources are very real. As long as I've lived in the Pittsburgh area, I've heard discussions about the challenges that arise from our splintered local government structure. I can drive through 5 or 6 different municipalities on a 5-mile drive to Lowe's at the waterfront. So through consolidation, I think that Wilkinsburg and Pittsburgh will be able to take advantage of less overhead, more resources, and greater efficiencies across the board. I truly believe that we can be stronger together. So I think, as others have said, as you consider whether to vote in favor of the proposed annexation, I'd ask you to consider what a merger would mean from the standpoint of what might be useful and beneficial to the city. A large group of thoughtful, concerned residents in Wilkinsburg have organized to get a referendum on the ballot so that the people of Wilkinsburg can weigh in and make their voice heard on this issue directly. If you make the decision based on what a merger could mean for the city, then the people of Wilkinsburg will likewise have the opportunity to vote on what we think is best for our community. Thanks so much for your time and also for creating this opportunity for us to share our perspectives.
Thank you. And Richard Wertheimer is the next speaker. Richard?
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Thank you very much for allowing us to speak on this very important topic. My name is Richard Wertheimer, and I'm speaking to you today from a very unique perspective. My wife and I lived in Wilkinsburg from 1980 to 2019, 39 years. We raised our daughters in Wilkinsburg, we made friends in Wilkinsburg, and we continue to volunteer in the borough at the Wilkinsburg Free Store and the community food distribution. We have a deep desire to see Wilkinsburg rebound as a community. In 2019, my wife and I retired, became empty nesters. We decided to move from our home in Wilkinsburg and move to an apartment in Pittsburgh. We live in Oakland. For over 40 years, my wife and I have spent our educational and professional lives in the city of Pittsburgh. We attended both Carnegie Mellon and the University of Pittsburgh. My wife worked downtown for a consulting firm, and I've worked as an educator for the Pittsburgh Public Schools and as the co-founder and CEO of City Charter High School in downtown Pittsburgh. We've spent our entire professional lives working in Pittsburgh. Having lived and worked in both Wilkinsburg and Pittsburgh, I'm here to state unequivocally that it is time for the city of Pittsburgh and the borough of Wilkinsburg to merge, to become one. In fact, this has been the case for the last 40 years. From a Wilkinsburg perspective, the need for the merger is obvious. As you know, there is an existing successful working relationship between Pittsburgh and Wilkinsburg. The experiment that involved fire protection and waste disposal services has been a success for both groups and is a perfect example of what can occur if a merger like this does in fact happen. Also, the Pittsburgh Public School providing educational services for 7th through 12th grade students in both Westinghouse High School and in terms of the magnets has been a success as well. It certainly is apparent that Wilkinsburg has shrunk from its heyday and does not have the resources to recover from the loss of the steel and manufacturing industries as Pittsburgh has done. Wilkinsburg's property tax rate has risen to compensate for the loss of its tax base. And it has reached such a high level that ultimately it is stymieing any investment in the borough and has kept it from moving forward. A merger with Pittsburgh would resolve this issue. From a Pittsburgh perspective, this is a win-win proposition. The borough's location, its housing stock, its population, proximity to transportation can only be an asset for the city. The opportunity to expand the city further east into the Regent Square area, the Black Ridge development, the Beacon Hill development, the Laketon area, to Homewood South and to East Hills is a natural fit for our city. A merger would add a diverse population with respect to age, race, gender, and economic status. It would add 14 to 15,000 people to the city's population, 2 square miles to its landmass, and millions of dollars to its tax revenues. Naysayers.
Hello? Oh, can you hear me? Okay. Hi, my name is Marina Balco. I live at 5448 Bartlett Street. So I'm a Pittsburgh resident. My mother grew up in Edgewood, right across the border from Wilkinsburg. So I'm, that it has a very special place in my heart. But I wanted to take a second just now to sort of go back in history for a moment, because Wilkinsburg was a part of Pittsburgh at one point in its history, or at least most of it. So in 1873, Wilkinsburg was annexed into the city. But 2 years later, that action was reversed by a landowner and developer named James Kelly. And the reason why that action was reversed is because he fought it to regain control over his land and control over the local government. And he got it reversed by striking the names of all of the women who had signed the petition. And I don't think many people have really taken the time to sit on that injustice that happened, because Wilkinsburg did say we want to become a part of the city. And the reason that it's not today is because he got the court to agree that women's voices didn't matter. So, we can never fully undo what happened and the years of history since then. But I just want to, say that I think it would be incredibly inequitable to not let Wilkinsburg residents have a voice now as to whether or not they want to become a part of the city. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. And our next speaker is Derek Tillman. Derek on. Derek's not on. Okay, Derek's not on. We'll go to our next speaker, Terrence O'Neill. Terrence O'Neill. Next speaker, he's not on, and is Colleen O'Neill on? No. Our next speaker is Cynthia Kerr. Cynthia, is she on? You're on, so please unmute your mic. Cynthia. Cindy Kerr, K-E-R. On your mic, on your registration, it says Cynthia, and on your computer, it says Cindy. So Cindy Kerr. You're muted. And to all the speakers listening, please be ready and be prepared when your name is called to please unmute your mic. Cynthia Kerr, last time. We're going to go on to our next speaker. And we'll try to figure out what the technical difficulty may be there. And our next speaker, I'm going to spell the last name in and say it. It's Ramkumar Natarajan. I'm going to spell that. Natarajan. Is he on? Or is she on? No. They're not on. So we'll go to our next speaker, which is Monica Garcia. Monica is on.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Hi, you're welcome. Hi, my name is Monica Garcia, and I serve the Wilkinsburg community as the Vice President of the Wilkinsburg School Board. I also volunteer at the Fresh Food Market and the Free Store. I am a homeowner in Wilkinsburg. I live at 1612 Graham Boulevard, and I've lived here since 2013. I'm a single mother of children that live in the district. One of my youngest attends Kelly Elementary. And I would say that when I first moved into the house, there was a beautiful home next to mine that was, the owners had left and had moved to what they considered a better school district because they had a young child. And so they left the borough, and also because of the high taxes here. And they didn't feel it was fair to be paying such high taxes and not comfortable with sending their child to the schools. So, and having children of my own, that was one thing that, really motivated me to want to get involved as an educator in the local schools. And so I never, honestly, at that point in time, I did not think I would send my kids to Wilkinsburg schools. However, my son is now in kindergarten at Kelly. So I feel like our schools have really come a long way, and they're doing good things. There's been lots of progress made. And I feel like my son is in good hands. I feel like our school district is an asset, or would be an asset to the city of Pittsburgh. And I also feel like, so I would like to see the two school boards come together and discuss, if there is this merger, if this takes place, what that would look like for our students in the district, in the borough, what opportunities that would present. I do believe there would be additional opportunities for our students, including magnet options for our younger students. So that is I think one benefit. We have been able to decrease the property taxes, and which is I think a great thing that we've been able to do that again. So it's been twice in the last, I would say, 5 years. However, in order to maintain that decrease in property taxes, we need to have a return of many of our charter school students. And so, or else we would have to raise taxes again. And I think sometimes people don't understand that. We don't want, of course, have to raise taxes again because the tax burden, as we know, is already great. In fact, I pay more in property taxes than I do. My monthly property tax bill is higher than my mortgage principal and interest. And as a single mother, that's there's so much more I could be doing if my property taxes were decreased. And so I would like to see that. But of course, again, as a school board member and a mother of a child that's in the school district, I really want to make sure that our kids will be set up for success, that this would be a benefit for the students in our district, as well as the families and property owners and residents in general. Let's see here. If there's anything else I want to add that hasn't already been said. I think there's been a lot of good points made. So obviously, I do want to say I am in favor of the merger.
Thank you. And our next speaker is John Chester Irwin. John Chester Irwin. Pardon me?
I'd like to pass this one.
You'd like to pass? Okay. Thank you. And Tony Coronado.
Yes, hi. My name is Tony Cornialdi, and I'm a resident of Wilkinsburg. My address is 601 Hay Street, and I support the annexation of Wilkinsburg in the city of Pittsburgh. I first moved to Wilkinsburg from Brooklyn, New York, over 30 years ago, and I was immediately drawn to Wilkinsburg. Throughout my years in Pennsylvania, I've lived in Wilkinsburg, Pittsburgh, and Penn Hills, with Wilkinsburg now being my final destination due to the sudden loss of my fiance back in 2018. One of my reasons for being a supporter of the merger is because I want better for Wilkinsburg, and I believe that an annexation with the city of Pittsburgh will make that possible. Over my 30 years, I've seen a steady increase in blight property and a decrease in population. And I believe that Wilkinsburg is a hidden gem. And if an annexation became possible, more opportunities would become available to reduce the number of blight properties that our children and families are currently being exposed to on a daily basis. Blight properties create unsafe neighborhoods, and it's not good for one's mental health, just to name a few. I truly want better for the community I live in. I decided to join the merger committee last year so that I can have a voice for myself and others like me. I also want to work with others to explore ways to protect renters, such as myself, and those on fixed incomes from being displaced due to investors purchasing properties and charging rents that far exceed the average Wilkinsburg rents affordability, ultimately pushing them out of a place that they once called home. I definitely don't want to experience another Isla Vieja effect. To sum it all up in the 3 minutes, I'm simply an average person who wants better for myself, my family, and my community. Who doesn't want better when there's a chance for betterment? Better equates to growth, and that's what I want. And I believe an annexation with the Wilkinsburg and the city of Pittsburgh is a step in that direction, which is long overdue. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And our next speaker is Renee Haynes Johnson. Renee? You on? Renee, you're on. Please unmute your mic.
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you. Please continue. Mute. Renee, we can't hear you.
Set up. So my name is Renee Haynes Johnson, and I live at 2261 Laketon Road.
Please continue. You only have 3 minutes to make your comments, so please be ready and continue. You're muted again. Renee, please unmute your mic. She's still on? Renee, you're still on, but you're muted. You have to unmute your microphone. Renee, I'm going to call one more time and for you to unmute your mic, and then we're going to go on to the next speaker. So please unmute your mic. We'll try to come back. We're going to go on to our next speaker. And Renee, if you're on and you don't get back on and you want to send comments, you can email the clerk at the city clerk's office at pittsburghpa.gov. And you can make sure all members get your comments. Kate Luxembourg. Kate Luxembourg.
Hello, my name is Kate Luxembourg.
Hi.
I'm not hearing myself. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Please continue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
First of all, I want to say that it was announced several times that the deadline for submitting petition signatures for this merger question was December 1st. I have kept looking at Department of Court records, and they know nothing of the submission of these petitions with signatures. So that is a problem, not as advertised. The second point I want to make is that for Pittsburgh, a concern for Pittsburgh, if Pittsburgh were to annex Wilkinsburg, is I believe that Pittsburgh would have to pay off the bond debt that Wilkinsburg has and refinance it. Wilkinsburg's credit rating is A+, recently raised from A, and I believe that if Pittsburgh had to refinance the bond, it would be at a higher rate of interest than we in Wilkinsburg now pay. So City of Pittsburgh council members, I believe that's a concern for you. Another point that I want to make is speakers have talked about the burdensome property taxes. The first three speakers to talk about this are people who own houses within 1 or 2 blocks of Edgewood. Yes, their property assessments are high and their taxes are then proportionally high. I live toward the center of Wilkinsburg. I forgot to say my address when I started, 432 Rebecca Avenue. My property is not overassessed. I do not consider my property taxes to be burdensome because I believe that my property assessment benefits from the fact that I'm closer to the center of Wilkinsburg. When there was the countywide assessment in 2013, I believe I saw a difference in assessments, the edges of Wilkinsburg near Edgewood versus the center of Wilkinsburg. So I do not consider my property tax to be burdensome because my assessment is moderate. And I know many other people who say the same thing. I'm doing okay. About loss of Black population, we have lost proportionately more Black population because the older houses that were close to end of life were disproportionately occupied by Black residents. Those properties, physical structures, end of life need to be replaced. Yes, that's an issue about investment, but there is no mass exodus of Black people from Wilkinsburg with the implication that Black people are choosing not to live here anymore. That is just.
Thank you. And our next speaker is Rene Dalton. Renee?
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, my name is Rene Dalton, and I live at 2315 Orlando Place. I am a 20-year-plus resident of Wilkinsburg. I want to testify today, not just to voice my opposition to any proposed annexation, but to clear up a misconception that Pittsburgh council members may have about the situation on the ground here in Wilkinsburg. The prospect of annexation is intensely and profoundly unpopular in Wilkinsburg, and if it ends up on the ballot, it will fail in a landslide. This misguided and deeply suspect effort by the much reviled and mistrusted Wilkinsburg Community Development Corporation has almost no popular support, and we question why this is even an issue, as our elected officials have formally asked them to cease and desist in this effort. We know that the annexation push is not being driven by the city of Pittsburgh. We know that the only driving force for this is the WCDC and whatever interest it is that they represent. Those interests have nothing to do with the best interests of Wilkinsburg or the city of Pittsburgh. And that is why I think it is critical that you understand the facts on the ground here in Wilkinsburg before you make any decision. If this goes on the ballot, it will lose big, and Pittsburgh will look bad. Let me give you one example of how reviled, loathed, and mistrusted the WCDC is by this community. In 2019, the WCDC began their Stronger Neighborhoods campaign. Ostensibly, this was to be an opportunity for Wilkinsburgers to come together and talk about how to improve their borough. But pretty much everybody understood that this was a backdoor, underhanded front to lobby for annexation. The WCDC had an over $200,000 budget. We don't know exactly how much, but it was minimum $200,000. You can look at their 990s. They had over $200,000 budget for this campaign. They spent 5 figures on marketing, 5 figures. Every gas station that you went into, every little store had glossy cardboard flyers, not the cheap ones, but super fancy, substantial pieces of cardboard. There were posters, there were signs. I got dozens of emails, I got Facebook ads, and so did everybody else who lives here. You could not escape the Stronger Neighborhoods advertising barrage. They held 22 public meetings, 22. And according to their own numbers, the numbers that they released, not my head count or anybody else's head count, they had 143 total participants, not unique individuals, but 143 total participants. I went to 3 meetings. They counted me 3 times. If you do the math, that is 6.5 people per meeting. And at the meetings that I was at, there were 2 board members and a staffer, and they counted them as well. They spent over $200,000 on this campaign, and Wilkinsburgers rightfully completely ignored it. Quickly, to give you another example, they are forced to pay people who do not live in Wilkinsburg to go to door to door to try to collect these signatures. They cannot find local Wilkinsburgers to volunteer to do it, and they cannot find local Wilkinsburgers to be paid to do it. They're posted all over social media, are people taking photos and videos of these non-Wilkinsburg residents who are collecting signatures because.
Okay, your time has expired. And I just want to let council members know we have 44 registered speakers, and I'm getting ready to call number 23. Julian Ship. Julian Ship.
Oh, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, how are you? Please continue.
Hi, I'm Julian Ship. I live at 2436 Laketon. I've lived in Wilkinsburg my entire life, and I have been through both the Wilkinsburg school system and the Pittsburgh public school system. And it is my belief that like Wilkinsburg has a pretty good school system, and like it's got its stuff together. And my experience of the Pittsburgh public school system would indicate that the annexation would just ruin the education opportunities for the students of Wilkinsburg. That's really all I have to say.
Thank you. And our next speaker is John Gregory Stock.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, good afternoon. Please continue.
Hi, my name is John Stokey, and I live at 1439 Foliage Street in Wilkinsburg. I oppose annexation, and my concerns revolve around what I honestly call the nonprofit mafia, the Wilkinsburg Community Development Corporation. And that term comes from my personal business experience with that organization. I had moved to Wilkinsburg in 2015 because my wife and I had purchased Nancy's Diner, which was, a venerable institution in Wilkinsburg that was about to go out of business. And originally the CDC was helpful. They got us some media exposure and they helped us get a grant for a little sign. And that was nice. But then in, I think it was 2017, they acquired the entire block in downtown Wilkinsburg where our diner was located. And so they became our landlord. And things got weird. They started pressuring us to expand, even though it didn't really make any sense. And then things got really bad when we decided to sell the business. They found us a buyer, and they were pushing this buyer, and the buyer didn't have enough money to buy the diner. They had like half of what we were asking, which was a very modest. It was not a, it's a diner. And so we had a meeting with Tracy Evans and a developer named Bill Crahe. And at that meeting, they told us that we had to sell our business for half of what it was worth because as our landlord, they would refuse to approve a lease from any other prospective buyer. And then Mr. Crahe, who was extremely aggressive, told us that we had to decide quickly or they would evict us from the diner that we had worked on for 4 years and was like an anchor for the whole block. It just showed like there was a peek behind the curtains of a group that purports it has the nonprofit moniker. But I think everyone these days is sophisticated enough to understand that nonprofit doesn't mean that someone isn't making a profit. So I looked into this and it turns out their motive seems to be that the diner sat in a qualified opportunity zone. And if you look it up, Tracy Evans is a big proponent of this Trump administration initiative, which basically allows private investors to not pay capital gains tax if they put their money in areas like Wilkinsburg. So the CDC was only worried about, if we weren't going to expand, because apparently the way this program works is you had to improve the real estate. So they found a buyer for the business who would do that. And what we learned was they don't care about Wilkinsburg. They didn't care about our business. They didn't care about the hard work and investment that we put into that business. All they cared about were these corporate developers.
Thank you. And our next speaker is Vanessa McCarthy Johnson. Vanessa McCarthy Johnson. Vanessa is not on. You don't see her on. She's not on. So we'll go to our next speaker, who is Paul O'Hanlon. Hi, Paul. You're on.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name's Paul O'Hanlon. I live at 959 South Braddock Avenue, which is just across the street from Pittsburgh. After living in the city for over 60 years, My wife fell in love with a house just across the border in Wilkinsburg, and I've been a Wilkinsburg resident for the past 4 years. The house we purchased in Wilkinsburg has high real estate taxes. I can't deny that. However, the tax burden on the property was reflected in the sales price of the house. In effect, we got a bargain on the price because of the high taxes. Speaking in all candor, it would be extremely profitable for me if Wilkinsburg was annexed by the city and my taxes lowered and my house was not reassessed. But it wouldn't be fair. Even though the current annexation proposal would be personally profitable to me, I don't support it. And I certainly don't support holding a referendum in a primary election where voter participation is predictably lower and where people not registered Democrat or Republican have little reason to vote. I question the motive and ethics of proponents of this effort for proposing to hold a referendum in a primary election. I don't support the annexation effort because it offers no benefit to the majority of Wilkinsburg residents, and it's a terribly divisive issue. We're told that annexation would improve things for the Wilkinsburg Business District and would lower property taxes, but this doesn't make a lick of sense. Look at Homewood, Larimer, West End, Sheridan, Elliott, Central North Side. The decline of neighborhood business districts is a regional or national problem. It just isn't a Wilkinsburg problem. A case can be made that our business district is surviving better than some of the city neighborhood business districts. The majority of Wilkinsburg residents are renters who don't pay real estate taxes, but renters pay wage taxes, and the wage tax in Wilkinsburg is lower than Pittsburgh. Furthermore, our rents are lower than Pittsburgh's. So the annexation proposal would make things worse for the majority of Wilkinsburg residents. Why would anyone support this proposal? Finally, it's worth noting that property taxes in Wilkinsburg haven't been raised since 2004. School taxes peaked in 2012 and have been falling since then. The financial distress of Wilkinsburg isn't something new, but the finances, in fact, have been improving. What has changed is that Wilkinsburg has become a majority minority, majority Black community, which makes this effort now particularly divisive. A better use of our time and resources would be to work with.
Thank you. And our next speaker is Victor, Pregel. Victor, is Victor on? No. And Brian, Victor is not on. Brian Maloney. Brian Maloney is on.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes,
Great.
joining us, please state your name.
My name is Brian Maloney and my address is 6126 Callery Street, 15206 in the Highland Park neighborhood of the city of Pittsburgh. I'm a lawyer, so I need to clarify that I'm here to speak on my own personal capacity and not on behalf of my firm or any of its clients. I also own a rental property in Wilkinsburg located at 727 Whitney Avenue, 15221. I lived at that property for about 3 years between 2003 and 2006 and renovated the building while I lived there, and I've rented the property out ever since. I'm strongly in favor of the city of Pittsburgh annexing Wilkinsburg, and I strongly encourage the city council to vote in favor of moving forward with the annexation for several reasons. I'll submit a written statement regarding the reasons related to schools and taxes. I think those have been touched on already. I want to focus my comments here on whether the annexation would be a burden to the city because I am currently a city of Pittsburgh resident. The annexation of Wilkinsburg would help, I think, both the city of Pittsburgh and Wilkinsburg. The city is not enhanced by having Wilkinsburg in the state that it is in on its eastern border. I would encourage council to obviously do its own due diligence and do the math. But even if the taxes and the money were a temporary burden on the city of Pittsburgh, the conditions for successful development would be in place with lower property taxes in what is now Wilkinsburg. And I'm confident that over time, Wilkinsburg would be transformed. As it is now, Wilkinsburg is not changing. It is certainly not changing fast enough. I lived there for 3 years from 2003 to 2006, and I've stayed involved in the neighborhood there since then as a property owner. With the annexation, the city would have a voice in remaking Wilkinsburg. And if the city chooses not to annex Wilkinsburg, then it's virtually guaranteed that Wilkinsburg will continue down the path that it's on and would continue to be a detriment on the eastern border of Pittsburgh. Wilkinsburg is plagued with a disproportionate number of abandoned homes and homes in disrepair. And as a property owner, I understand the economics of renovating a building to turn it into a successful rental property or to be able to resell it as a homeowner. With the tax rates in Wilkinsburg, there's no realistic path towards saving the abandoned and dilapidated houses that exist. As an example, a $100,000 property in Wilkinsburg has taxes of almost $5,000, over $4,800. The same $100,000 property in the city of Pittsburgh would have taxes of about $2,300, a difference of over $2,500. For anyone looking to renovate properties as a business model, it's a business model that simply doesn't work in Wilkinsburg, which is why you have so many houses in disrepair. And for any kind of larger development, the problem is only magnified by the cost of the property. When I live in Highland Park, and when I drive to my property in Wilkinsburg.
Thank you. And our next speaker is China Lee.
Hi, my name is China Lee, 501 Home Street. I'm a Wilkinsburg homeowner, landlord, longtime resident. My family has owned property in Wilkinsburg since 1978, and I'm absolutely opposed to the annexation. I wanted to, talk about the WCDC a little bit and their failure in doing what they were supposed to do for Wilkinsburg. The WCDC was awarded millions of dollars from the state and local foundations since its inception, but it's failed to complete its mission to revitalize the Wilkinsburg business district. And doing that, they were supposed to attract more people to Wilkinsburg. Instead of owning up to its failures and trying to correct the course and help Wilkinsburg as a community development corporation is supposed to do, the WCDC has instead focused its efforts on this annexation without actual regard for what the residents want or what's in their best interest. They've engaged a very small sampling of people, some residents and some not, to claim that the annexation, which they've consistently referred to in marketing materials as a merger, which implies mutual assent, which it does not have, is what the people want, and that's not accurate. Many residents do not know what will happen for our borough employees' jobs, to our police force. Homeowners are unclear on whether there will be a reassessment affecting our property taxes, and yet the WCDC has provided answers to these questions based on speculation, not fact. While every city, town, borough has room for improvement, including both Pittsburgh and Wilkinsburg, Wilkinsburg has been successful in managing its affairs and does not want to be annexed to the city of Pittsburgh. The trash collection and fire service agreements they made sense, and they were a part of the Wilkinsburg Comprehensive 10-year plan, and they were not an indication of an eventual consolidation. Wilkinsburg and Pittsburgh each have blighted properties and have both lost residents in recent years. Wilkinsburg tax base has decreased, but the borough taxes have not increased since 2004. If there is to be a decision about Wilkinsburg and Pittsburgh coming together, this annexation process is not the way. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, China. And our next speaker is Joshua Rowland. Joshua's not registered. Or not on, I apologize. Is Pamela Macklin?
Hello, can you hear me? This is Joshua Roland.
Okay, I apologize. Go ahead, continue, Josh.
Yes, thank you, honorable council members. My name is Josh Roland. I live at 313.5 Ellis Street in Bloomfield. I'm in favor of giving Wilkinsburg residents the opportunity to vote on joining the city of Pittsburgh. I used to be the Main Street manager for the Wilkinsburg Community Development Corporation, where I met with many Wilkinsburg business owners, residents, and people looking to establish themselves in Wilkinsburg. I'm also a board member of Protohaven, a nonprofit makerspace in Wilkinsburg, bordering Homewood. I wanted to highlight the resilience of Wilkinsburg people today. Despite the challenges that the community has faced, Wilkinsburg has taken vacant buildings and fixed them up to add new life. Former schools have become community centers. A church has become a school, and a 100-year-old Wilkinsburg train station has been beautifully redeveloped for a restaurant and retail space. As much progress has been made, the weight of real estate taxes really makes it difficult for people to buy and repair property in Wilkinsburg. For many first-time home buyers, have ruled out looking into Wilkinsburg because of the high taxes. And so many small businesses, some displaced from the East End, try to access commercial spaces in the business district, but can't find buildings up to code. If Wilkinsburg decides to join the city, the lower tax rate will make it much more affordable to buy a home or fix up a vacant building. So why should the city annex Wilkinsburg? Problems that cross borders like crime and blight can be tackled together. Already Wilkinsburg and Pittsburgh have been able to cooperate on the fire department, high school merger. Previous speakers have pointed to studies showing that Wilkinsburg would not be a financial burden to Pittsburgh, and the city controller, Michael Lamb, has spoken positively on the annexation. Joining Wilkinsburg may bring more federal funds to Pittsburgh through the CDBG program, since Wilkinsburg CDBG eligible census tracts would join the cities. Finally, Pittsburgh would gain population for the first time in 50 years. Even though Pittsburgh has rebounded from the steel mill closures 40 years ago, every census still see more people leaving the city than joining us. Right now, we have a chance to welcome 14,000 new residents to the city. Council members, please decide to empower Wilkinsburg to make the decision for themselves. Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Councilwoman, you're muted.
I apologize. Our next speaker was Pamela Macklin, and Pamela Macklin is not on. So we'll go to Carlos Thomas. Is Carlos Thomas on? No. Alexander, I'm gonna spell the last name Mychkovsky.
Yes, it sounds just like it's spelled. I'm Alex Michkovsky. I'm a resident at 906 South Trenton Avenue in Wilkinsburg. I moved here from Swissvale about 4 years ago. I'm just going to keep this a little bit short and give you a little personal story. Well, I'm an engineer and I volunteer at a Pittsburgh Public School STEM outreach program. It's an after-school program at some of the local high schools. I've been there for about the last 5 years. And I think it's a very good thing that the Pittsburgh Public Schools have going. They can leverage their resources and size to try to bring in external programs like this for their kids. I have a wife and a 3-year-old child, and I would like for him to have a full opportunity to participate in programs like these. My wife works in Pittsburgh, and we love it here. I think that the primary is the right place to hold a referendum because, I mean, let's be blunt, that is really the important election for these local communities. And also, the Catholic dioceses have undergone a similar consolidation. And this is just a reality. To stay viable in these areas where you have population loss, you have to look to leverage and share resources to tackle problems together. And one last thing, you know, I think it's good, it should go to a merger to a vote to the people. And, you know, the little anecdote I was saying is like, Wilkinsburg can be like the fries on your salad. You know, that's a very Pittsburgh thing. So the merger, I support it, and thank you for your time and listening to me. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. And our next speaker is Carrie Soso. Am I saying that correct? I have Kerry on mine. Number 35. She's not on. Okay. Michael Dalton. I'm sorry, Michelle Dalton. Michelle Dalton.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, please continue. State your name and address for the record and continue.
Hi, my name is Michelle Dalton. My family lives at 1432 Woodlawn. I represent in Wilkinsburg, and I represent a group called Wilkinsburg Strong. And we're an activist group that came together and hosted a peace walk in 2020, just amidst the news reportings of violence happening in Wilkinsburg and wanting to bring the community together. And we highlighted the death of Romare Talley. And since then, even on the back of Romare Talley, this merger, disincorporation has been coming up. And I've noticed that there's been a lot of people left out of the conversation. A lot of people who had not been engaged in the conversation or misled on what this was supposed to look like. And so me and my activist group with Wilkinsburg Strong, we hit to the streets and we were going door to door, just having educational conversations with our neighbors and even collecting signatures against the merger. And just wanting to amplify the voices of the people that we noticed were not being engaged throughout this process. Some of the things that came up is that, this looks like what happened in East Liberty. People are worried about being displaced. When you use the Wilkinsburg Future website, you can go on there and put in your rent and how much you make. And you can see that for renters, the only change in money is going to be an increase in their taxes when it comes to that wage tax if you don't own property. And then, like many people already said, a lot of the majority of the community are renters, and that affects my family. And so we did just want to just make sure that those voices are being heard. I just learned about this meeting, so a lot of these meetings were just, these same people are being missed and left out of knowing that these are happening. So I'm fortunate and grateful that you guys are here to hear these concerns and allow me to speak. And I just appreciate your time. And I'm not for the merger, just so we're clear.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. And Carolyn Speranza.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please continue.
Carolyn Speranza from 2021 Plainview Avenue in Brookline 15226. I am a working artist with a garage studio in my backyard. The reason why I mention this is that in my experience, Wilkinsburg has been a good place to live for my full-time artist colleagues, where that's all they do. They just make their art. It's not an easy life. They don't have the benefit of an academic position or some other full-time job, but somehow Wilkinsburg has supported them. And Wilkinsburg has also supported my gay and queer and trans friends. They have found it to be a receptive community in Wilkinsburg. Women I know have carved out new spaces in Wilkinsburg, like starting a farm, having a real estate firm that is specifically for working with the queer community, and an artist-run coffee house. I'd like to see my friends and colleagues in Wilkinsburg benefit from Pittsburgh's lower property taxes, but also there are other resources that Pittsburgh has for people like this, for my friends and colleagues, like the URA's zero interest loan home improvement and rehabilitation program. I really mention this because I live in a very old house in Brookline. My husband is a social worker. I am an artist. It's not like we have a lot of money, but with this zero interest loan rehabilitation program, we've been able to do major rehab on our house, continue to live in our house, and now we're paying off this zero interest loan at about $96 a month. And I think this could be a really great model for Wilkinsburg homeowners or people who want to become a homeowner in Wilkinsburg, but they're really challenged by the older housing stock. And on the political front, I would really like to see more Black and brown representation in my city government. And if Wilkinsburg were to join our city government, I think that would become highly possible. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next speaker is Carrie Soso. She joined. Carrie, please unmute your mic and continue. Carrie, please unmute your mic. Carrie Sosa. I'm saying the name wrong. It's S-O-S-O. She's on, right? Or here she is on. Okay, you might have an old version of Zoom, so I would just say, if you want your comments to be heard, you can either call in and what's the number, Madam Clerk? 412, here, just say it in your mic.
412-255-2135. 38, I'm sorry, 412-255-2138.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Put you on the spot like that, I apologize. Or you can email the clerk at cityclerksoffice@Pittsburgh, spelled out, pa.gov, and all members of council will receive your comments. Harriet Williams. Harriet Williams. Harriet Williams, please unmute your mic. Harriet Williams, please unmute your mic.
Yes.
Hi. Good afternoon. Please,
Hi.
please state
Yes,
your name
my
and
name
address
is-
for the record.
My name is Harriet Williams. I live at 2553 Graham Boulevard. I've been here since 1986. I own my home. I also am a landlord in Wilkinsburg. I am against the annexation of Wilkinsburg, and I will send my comments to the email address. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much and have a good day. And the next speaker is Jody Harper Guy.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Hi, yes, good afternoon. Please state your name and address for the record and continue.
Yes, my name is Jody Guy. My address is 211 Bevington Road. I'm 15221. My family, since 1919, has lived on South and Center Avenues in Wilkinsburg. And in 2017, I founded and now run a nonprofit called Wilkinsburg Center for Civic Arts. My comments concern the following. My position is to remain independent of Pittsburgh. Wilkinsburg has its challenges, but annexation to Pittsburgh, where officials cannot know the history and challenges that we deal with up close and in person, is not helpful. I really favor the ability to speak, plan, and partner with our elected officials and leaders who are only blocks away. Additionally, I know others have mentioned this, but the tax rates. Wilkinsburg residents who own property will see lower property tax bills and lower earned income taxes. Wilkinsburg residents who rent make up 43.9% of the total population and also represent the 25% of residents living in poverty. Wilkinsburg renters may see lower paychecks, but there is no proposal from annexation proponents that would address this tremendous impact to the renters. And what will all of these renters do with an additional park, library, and rad tax? So suddenly the 1% earned revenue savings isn't much of a savings at all. I would also like to mention, the benefits of the school district or lack thereof. For more than 20 years, I worked for and with Pittsburgh Public School District as a teacher, a curriculum specialist, and then the visual arts coordinator. The unfortunate challenges PPS is weathering currently includes $30 million in debt, $4 million in debt over the past year, and 21% decline in kindergarten enrollment from last year. So there was a 2.6 property tax increase proposed. It was voted down this time. I wonder if that would happen again next year or in the future. So that means that they will need to cut expenses and close schools. Usually PPS closes those schools in the lowest socioeconomic areas, which with annexation could be Wilkinsburg. So our kids then would have to be bused to where? Homewood? According to the acting superintendent, Wayne Walters, everything is on the table to cut expenses. In addition to closing schools, cutting the arts, cutting personnel, and student services will continue until they can raise finally real estate taxes. So, Pittsburgh Public's average math proficiency score is 31%.
Thank you. And our next speaker is Draven Marino.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, so my name is Draven Marino. I live at 2635 East Carson Street in Pittsburgh. So I'm currently a Southside resident, but I spent time in Wilkinsburg during a volunteer program through my school. I'd love to live in Wilkinsburg one day, I think, but as it stands right now, there's just no vibrancy. It's close to great city assets like Frick Park and Bakery Square. And it was in talking with a Wilkinsburg business owner more than a year ago that I learned about the why related to Wilkinsburg's challenges. I found out that a business owner in Wilkinsburg pays double in property taxes than if they were located in Penn Hills or the city. And that just really made me think, who would invest here? And it's not uncommon for communities with a majority Black population to have high tax burdens given the history of redlining in this country. Wilkinsburg is one of the highest property taxes in the entire nation. And as a result, it's losing its Black population at double the rate of other races. And all you have to do, I think, is drive through Wilkinsburg and you'll see, the abandonment. And it's just interesting to me that we live in a time where, social justice is said to be a priority among a lot of politicians, yet it seems there are some in government that want to prevent this fair, just, and win-win effort to equalize Wilkinsburg's tax rate with the cities. In my opinion, this is just a vote for equity and a vote for the democratic process. To say that fully absorbing Wilkinsburg will take services away from city residents just doesn't seem to be true based on what I am aware of. The fire and refuse services merged, and I did my research, and it's all there on the Wilkinsburg merger website. The city made money off of the merger. So ask yourself if any city residents had worse off fire or refuse services as a result. The answer is a clear no, in my opinion. So imagine doing the right thing, and then imagine 10 years from now when Wilkinsburg is a vibrant, inclusive neighborhood whose investment brings more money to the city so that all neighborhoods benefit. So I just ask everybody to think ahead and to ultimately to do what, in my opinion, is the right thing, and to let Wilkinsburg residents vote for their future. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next speaker is Nancy Soso. Nancy Soso. Gary wasn't on. Is Nancy?
Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, we are now. Thank you.
Okay, good. And the unmute button. My name is Nancy Soso. I live at 409 Todd Street in Wilkinsburg. I am a third generation Wilkinsburger. And this is clearly a very emotional issue for lots of people. And the previous speakers all had good points to make. And I am a proponent of the annexation for many of the reasons have already been said by people very eloquently, so I will keep this short. One of the things that has been disturbing is not only the high property taxes, but seeing what has happened in the neighborhood. We see the attraction of, people coming in because we have many lovely, beautiful homes. People move in, they have a family. The moment their children become school age, the for sale sign goes up in their yard and they move out. And I see the same house go up for sale over and over again because people are leaving, looking for a residence with a better tax rate and for better opportunities for schools. And it is very unfortunate when you see that. And it's very disturbing. And I do believe that it seems like there's a lot of discrepancies in people's understandings for what the future for Wilkinsburg could be with an annexation. And there's still a lot of education that needs to be done. I do hope that we do have the opportunity to vote on this during the primary. And I do thank you for the opportunity to say a few things today. And I'll be submitting some more questions in writing to the council. So, and some comments. So thank you for the opportunity today.
Thank you. And our next speaker is Dante Comins. Dante Comins.
Hello, this is Dante Cummins. I live at 2043 Boggs Avenue. I just wanted to, just give a couple comments. I've been listening, and I just feel like this is being rushed. I feel like this should have just been led with facts instead of everyone's keep calling it a merger. When a merger, you can get together and plan out things and have a future and know what's going to happen. But the annexation, after a vote, we would be the city. And that's disturbing, living between East Hills and Homewood, riding through the city. You see Knoxville, Arlington, you'll see the West Side, you'll see the North Side, all these communities that need help. And it seems like we're getting the hope that when Wilkinsburg becomes Pittsburgh, we'll automatically get help before the people that's there already, that needs the help already. I just saw the census outcome, and almost 11,000 Black people left Pittsburgh, but they didn't leave the county. So finally, Wilkinsburg, we lowered our taxes. That's lower than the area around us. I hear people saying, people jump into Edgewood, Swissville. Now we're lowering them, but this stain of this, or people don't want us, makes people not want to come here. So now that we're lower than the whole Woodland Hills area, Penn Hills is where we were a few years ago. We're the only community lowering taxes. So we're going into a forward, but the way that we look on the outside is we're terrible when our boroughs in the plus or school districts in the plus or police in the plus. Only thing that's failed is our business district. And we just gotta think about all of this. And it's being rushed, like I said. I want people to stop giving people hope like it's going to automatically make anything great. We got to talk to the people that's in the other communities that's not being helped and see how they feel. Like, all of us just need to come together. A merger sounds better than annexation because we would know what's happening before it happens. The same thing like we did with the fire, with the waste. We're paying for this stuff. We pay for our kids to go to PPS. It's putting out there like it's some free thing that we're just going there. Like, these are just cheaper options to do it that way and to get things done. And things have been getting done. And for us to, look at our elementary school. We have our free pre-K. If we go to the city, those parents will start having to pay for pre-K. And it's just things like that. We have to think about our children, where, like someone said, that 21% decline in kindergarten, when our schools were getting better numbers, and to disrupt that, to put them there when this is the vital years of education, could harm the kids and send them out to charter schools, which we all have disagreements with the funding and everything, because be honest, that's where all of these children are going, to charter schools. And this would just make everything go a little further. They might, close a school, then that's more kids that might go to a charter school. And that's more money that the city, Wilkinsburg, everyone would have to pay for each student, because they're not going to the school that they should be going to in their neighborhood. But I just wanted to say, I just feel like this is being rushed.
Thank you for your comments. And I'm going to go out of line a little bit here because I noticed that Ms. Brown is registered and she's here in person. So Ms. Brown, can you go next? Good afternoon, Ms. Brown.
Good afternoon. My name is Yvonne F. Brown. I live in the Hill District, 715 Mercer Street, apartment 313. The reason why I came, first I would like to, if I have to deviate, because you just have to understand, you got Ms. Gross that's on that, on the thing, and she's mumbling. You don't even know what she says. You didn't even have, when Mrs. Grayson, the lawyer from Housing Authority, was here that day. Play that tape back. Mrs. Gross is just mumbling. You can't hear. Why can't she come in here like everybody else so that we can understand what she's saying? I mean that. I'm not kidding. You're mumbling and then didn't even have the interpreter with the hand signals. So why is she able to not come in here? Why? She don't have any children, small children. Then you got Mrs. I'm telling you, how even the one Erica. She can bring her baby in here and sit. She can disappear for months. You don't even say that she's off for maternity leave. She brings her baby back in here and sits at the table doing city business. And when I bring my 5-year-old to speak, Reverend Burgess or Mr. Burgess going to say that she has no right. It's not the right. It's not the time. So you understand that you are discriminating against the poor Black people and poor people. I don't have the computer to be able to do this, because otherwise I wouldn't come down here. Got to come down and they can sit at home. Oh, and please excuse me. I've been trying to pray so that I don't be so angry, but I got a reason to be. Okay, now for Wilkinsburg, I want you to understand I'm a grieving mother. 5 of them white cops let my son lay on the floor and he's begging for his life. But yes, don't even consider him being a human being. If you do bring that Wilkinsburg here, you better question them. My husband said, well, maybe we can question them if they make them cops for the city. How my son ended up dead and not one cop ever went to court, ever. Do you understand? Ever. My son was begging. He was saying, I got one lung. They left him there and on the floor. Then that man came in and kicked him so hard. I felt it on the heel. I bust out crying, all this pain. And then there's blood around my son's spleen. The doctor from West Penn said, go to WEC, and he will not talk to me. Go to WEC, and even the mayor has let us down. The mayor promised me that he would talk to WEC, and WEC said he would talk to me, and he didn't do it. Then you got the mayor, when they killed that boy up on Bedford. Where was the mayor? He don't have to be standing, but he could have been up there. You got where a mayor let that come in and kill people. Now, they said that the boy had a gun. My time is, oh no, I got 2 more seconds. Let me tell you something. You just need to consider me. I've been coming here 27 years, and you don't even consider a grieving mother. I'm still grieving. I lost my son. Why? Because they wouldn't even push 911 to call ambulance. Police wouldn't do it. You just need to get yourself together. Don't be sitting there making up stuff because you want it.
Thank
We
you, Ms.
don't want it.
Our next speaker is Ashley Comans. Ashley. Ashley, you're on mute. Could you unmute your mic, please?
That was my son, a human being.
Ashley, could you please unmute your mic? Ashley Comans.
I welcome killers.
You're still muted, Ashley. I'm going to call Ashley one more time to unmute your mic. Ashley Comans, please unmute your mic, or I'm going to go to the next speaker. Our next speaker is Linda Atkins. Linda Atkins. Linda Atkins. Please unmute your mic. Linda Atkins, please unmute your mic. We'll call Linda Atkins one more time to please unmute your mic. When that happens, I can either only assume that they can't hear us or that they have an older version of Zoom. And so what I can say is please send your emails to our city clerk's office at city clerk's office at Pittsburgh, spelled out PA.
Can you hear me now?
I can now.
Oh, okay. Okay, great.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. Maybe I do have the older version.
I know we wouldn't hear you at all if you had the older version. Please continue.
Okay. All righty. First of all, I appreciate this opportunity. This drive for annexation is being backed by the WCDC, the Wilkinsburg Community Development, among others. But to make it clear that the WCDC is a nonprofit, it doesn't have representation by council, by elected officials. The WCDC bypassed council elected officials. They have been asked to cease and desist by council in Wilkinsburg, and they have the audacity to ignore this. They use a large portion of their budget against the community that they are to serve. The WCDC has failed. And in fact, when I talk to business owners and who have asked the CDC for help, they don't get help. That's a failure. That's a failure along our business district. That's a failure to our business owners. Residents in Wilkinsburg, they love their community. They love it here. Yes, we do have a problem because some folks have passed, and that's how we ended up with a lot of blighted homes. And we are working on that. We have action plans. Wilkinsburg is a diverse community, and the Wilkinsburg community can give a unique opportunity for leadership and representation, especially for our African-American population, which is mostly African-American. And we do support our LGBTQ brothers and sisters here and all the underserved. That's what we do. African-Americans can support, and other folks too, they can support their own community, Wilkinsburg, politically by running for office, having that opportunity, by being on our various boards and commissions, or even have greater opportunities here to own their own businesses. As a smaller community, Wilkinsburg gives residents greater influence in supporting and growing our own schools and our own community. And we will grow Wilkinsburg, and we are in that process. Houses are selling and taxes have been lowered, unlike, just as Dante said earlier, there are rumors out there about Wilkinsburg that aren't true. People just repeat them because they repeat them. That's what happens. And to just say simply that we can combine our police with Pittsburgh police, it's not that simple. It's not that simple. Our police force is local. They know our streets and they respond, and they do community-oriented policing. It's a different type of thing. There's no evidence that this annexation is good. I'm completely against it. And the residents that I talked to are against it. They're confused. And as someone said earlier, the CDC started this off in a confused manner by saying it was a merger and other things. And they're spending lots of money on fancy brochures and mailing that to people and confusing people and riding along that line of what is truth and what is not truth, instead of using that money to actually help the community. I'm confused. And as I said, they were asked to cease and desist. They've been asked to come to council meetings.
Thank you. And what we're going to do is go over our speakers who were called but did not respond. Some have logged on, and we can, Madam Clerk can see that. But I do want to make it very clear that we are joined via Zoom by Councilman Wilson, Kraus, Strasburger, Lavelle, Burgess, Gross, and Councilman Coghill and I are here. So I just want to make it clear that council members are on Zoom. I'm glad that they're joining us via Zoom. We made sure that this is a hybrid, that we're doing work in a hybrid format so that others can join us this way as well. We also have a lot of residents that cannot come in because they are immune compromised. And we wanted to make sure that they can also join us via Zoom. So there's lots of reasons that we open it up this way. And for people who may not have a computer at home, usually the libraries or some of our schools and some of our rec centers and other places do have computers that you can have access to join us in that way as well. So we try to make it as convenient as we can for everyone. And I apologize if it's inconvenient for anyone. So with that said, Madam Clerk, do you have the list of the speakers that we called that were not? Do you want to go over their names quickly?
I show that Ian Petrulli is on now.
Ian Petrulli. And I'll call your names 3 times.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. I'm actually a current council member on Wilkinsburg right now. I'm actually in favor of the merger. From what I've seen with the budgeting services, basically we're cutting services, we're losing population, and Wilkinsburg is on an unsustainable path. We just lost about 10% of our population according to the last census. And taxes have been what has been truly stymieing redevelopment in our borough. With those high taxes, you're putting up a wall against redevelopment, against home buyers coming into the borough. Anytime I try to suggest to a friend to look at my neighborhood, to be my neighbor, they're like, oh, that's Wilkinsburg. The taxes are really high. I can't do that. So I really think our taxes have been a detriment to redevelopment. Since I've been a borough resident since 2013, I've only noticed that more blight and abandonment has happened. The situation has not improved since I've been a borough resident, and I don't see it improving anytime soon unless something new and drastic is done, like joining the city and reducing our tax burden. Thank you.
Thank you. And Madam Clerk, is there another?
Next, I see Derek Tillman has joined us. Derek is number 12. David, want me to say the number?
Mr. Tillman?
Hi, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Derek. Continue.
Hi, this is Derek Tillman. I'm a resident of Wilkinsburg. I was originally against the merger, but after a lot of research and data and looking at the facts, I have converted. Wilkinsburg simply has too many challenges to handle by itself. The property tax issue is really a property tax justice issue. Black residents have lost homes, have lost property. Landlords have lost property, which ultimately displace residents. I believe we can create a win-win scenario by bringing both communities together. I know Pittsburgh is not perfect, but it's constantly moving in the right direction. And Wilkinsburg needs help, and I believe that Pittsburgh is poised to help. I know there's concerns relative to displacement and gentrification, and I believe we have an opportunity to address these issues with good policy and intentionality. Pittsburgh has the resources that Wilkinsburg simply does not, and that is a major thing that should not be ignored. We can do this right with good leadership and with making the right choices. One example, the school district with Wilkinsburg students now going to Westinghouse. I know initially there was hesitancy there, and I've heard nothing but good things, from the students that actually live in Wilkinsburg that attend Westinghouse High School. The other thing is I'm a proponent of school choice and parents having more choices to send kids to different kinds of magnet schools, et cetera. So ultimately, my thing is to let the people decide, and that we should bring this to a vote and allow the democratic process to work. But I do believe that this is the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, sir.
Number 14, Colleen O'Neill.
Colleen O'Neill.
Number 13, Terrence O'Neill.
Terrence O'Neill is on. Terrence O'Neill, please unmute your mic. And I'll call your name 3 times. If you don't speak, then we're going to go on to the next speaker. Terrence O'Neill.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Hi, I apologize. My name is Terry O'Neill. I'm also a resident of Wilkinsburg, and just wanted to notate that I am in favor of the merger with hopes of lowering taxes. I've been here for 2 years. My wife and I moved to our residence. Colleen is my wife. She's actually out right now and not able to attend. One of the biggest complaints that we have here is the high tax rate. Merging with the city, I believe, will lower taxes and create business opportunities for people who want new businesses to be able to move down onto Penn Avenue. We saw how much business happened in Lawrenceville, how many businesses were created in Bloomfield, Bakery Square. That's right on Penn Avenue. If we merge with the city, I believe with these lower taxes, businesses can continue to move right down Penn Avenue and create opportunities for these people. That's pretty much all I have to say.
So we have number 16, Rem Kumar Natarajan.
Is he on? You're on mute. Please unmute your mic. Yeah, mute it.
Yep. Hello.
Yes.
Hi, this is Ram Kumar. Thanks for the opportunity. My address is 415 Barnes Street. I'm here to make points similar to Madeline, who spoke earlier. I'm in a single earning household. Like I'm the only one who earns, and I have my spouse who doesn't work. So my point is, it's basically the property tax. I think merging with I'm in support of the merger, and I think merging with the city will definitely bring down the property tax, especially because it's becoming extremely hard to keep up with the property tax. And being a student, a PhD student who goes to Carnegie Mellon, I think I'm paying close to $7,000 per year for a $200,000 house, which is pretty bad. So one more experience which I know from my being in this robotics and tech world is that I'm witnessing a lot of technology-based companies like Facebook and even Amazon considered Pittsburgh as a location for potential headquarters. But then so there are so many companies that are coming and setting up their offices in Pittsburgh. And a lot of my friends moved from the West Coast coming to Pittsburgh to work in these robotics companies. But then when they were trying to buy a house, they really like the neighborhood in Wilkinsburg because there are a lot of places which are very residential, beautiful, and silent. However, they did not buy one just because it is technically in Wilkinsburg and because of the property tax. I think there is so much interest for people to invest here, but just because it's not in Pittsburgh, they are reluctant, and also because of the property tax. I think merging with the city will kind of will make people eager to come and set their families or invest in this neighborhood as well. And because I see so many companies moving into Pittsburgh as a result of the tech talent that Carnegie Mellon produces, it is always good to have a bigger city because people can come in and have more options. I just want to say that I'm in favor of the annexation. Thank you.
Thank you. And that exhausts our list of registered speakers. Is there anyone in the audience who has not addressed council that would like to address council? Is there any speakers in the audience that would like to address council? Seeing no further speakers, we're going to turn it over to council members, and we'll begin with Councilman Coghill.
Well, thank you, Madam President. And first and foremost, I want to thank the people from Wilkinsburg. I've been intrigued with this entire thing of merging with Wilkinsburg from the moment I heard it, for many, many reasons. And it's really good. For the first time, I get to hear from the residents actually from Wilkinsburg, not just a couple select groups. So I was so intrigued. What I did, I took an afternoon and I spent about 5 or 6 hours, and I drove up and down every street, every business corridor that Wilkinsburg has. And I'll tell you, I was shocked. I was shocked to see the amount of vacant homes, abandoned homes, vacant buildings in the business district. And I thought, geez, oh man, there's a lot that needs to go on here. I just see the decline of Wilkinsburg from what I remember it as a kid. Just was night and day. So, and let's face it, what it really comes down to is a property tax, right? I mean, it is impossible to get investment into Wilkinsburg at this point with its current property tax rate. Had lengthy conversations with our city controller and our county executive over this. They agree, our county executive is always on the forefront of promoting and, trying to bring business into our city or into our county, and virtually impossible, I think, at its current rate. So what I did was I made a list of a lot of pros and cons, of course, pros for Pittsburgh, population, I think, is very important for us right now, for us to dip, which we are dangerously close to dipping below 300,000 people, puts us at risk to not receive federal, state grants, monies of that sort. So I also like the idea of the land acquisition. I'm not sure how much municipal land is there yet quite, but I know what's there in abandoned houses and businesses. I feel like are just boarded up at this point. And of course, with Wilkinsburg, I feel like it's a win situation for many reasons. Number one, to decrease your property tax, even though it will mean a higher tax for the renters. But it's going to be short-term pain for long-term gain there, because without the proper investment in the buildings and the housing stock around you, it's going to continue to decline. I see it right in front of my eyes. I was there. Staff actually got out, talked to some of the neighbors, asked them what they would feel, how they would feel about such a merger. They didn't know me from Boo. I introduced myself, but they were both, the two or three people I spoke with were, very positive as to, the merger. As today we saw a mix, I think, people pro, people against. Of course, there are things that the city of Pittsburgh will bring to the table, such as the URA, the land bank, which will help reinvigorate that downtown in the housing stock there. For Wilkinsburg, it's the ability to find investors. You cannot find investment. You can't find people who want to invest with a 50% tax rate. It's virtually impossible, I think. So something's got to give there one way or the other, whether it's with a merger with the city of Pittsburgh or not. I, like Madam President here, am very concerned about stretching our resources in the city of Pittsburgh. I have a vast area, that very hilly area. I rely heavily on our Department of Public Works to take care of. So I do worry about stretching our own resources in that. I know there's a lot of shared, things right now as far as the sanitation, our fire department, and even the schools to a certain degree. So I just wanted to say for the record, I tend to be leaning toward voting yes for a merger. I'm going to withhold and say for sure until after we have the post agenda, and really after I talk to my colleagues, because I'm on the other end of the city, whereas it doesn't directly impact me as much as it would, say, a Councilman Burgess or Councilman Corey O'Connor, so others. And there's things to take in consideration there, as far as, first of all, we're in the middle of redistricting. I don't know what that really does to that, but certainly I think muddies it up at the very least. But so I'll withhold, my final decision, what it would be on it, until after we've had all the talks, until after I've talked to other council members and to see exactly where they're at. But on the surface, for me, it seems like a good thing. I think it might be difficult at first for Pittsburgh and Wilkinsburg, but ultimately I see it as a win-win for both communities. So with that, I'll turn it back to you, Madam President, and I look forward to having those talks with you.
Thank you. Oh, we'll have talks, trust me. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Reverend Burgess, because this does border his district, and then Councilwoman Gross, I think it's her district now. Councilman Burgess, did you want to add anything?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
So first of all, we appreciate everybody who has come. I do want to just lay on the table that this is not the only process why Wilkinsburg and Pittsburgh could merge. This annexation process does not give Pittsburgh voters a chance to participate. There is another process of merging that could be used, where both the Wilkinsburg city and the Pittsburgh voters both have a chance to participate. In this process, only city council gets to participate, and the voters of Wilkinsburg gets to participate, but the voters of our city don't get to participate. I probably philosophically over time think that it's probably a good idea at some point for the two to come together. I've said that, but I do worry about this process. This process that we're using is just so divisive. It has, racial overtones, and it's just divisive. And I'm not sure this is the right process. I'm not sure annexation is the right process. I think a merger where the two cities and the two cities' voters could participate may be a better model than this annexation model, because it short circuits the Pittsburgh voters. And the other thing is that I've heard mostly from, and I'm also very concerned that the political leaders, our incoming mayor, the incoming mayor of Wilkinsburg, and the majority of council representing Wilkinsburg are not in favor of this. So you are having lots of people who will have to be responsible for the outcome, not with the ability to participate. So this would short circuit the Wilkinsburg Council, this process. It would short circuit the Wilkinsburg mayor. It would eliminate or not have the residents of the city of Pittsburgh participate. It would just be city council of Pittsburgh and the voters of Wilkinsburg, where all these other stakeholders would not participate. And there are other processes the state allows us. This is a fairly unused model. This way we're doing it is fairly not used in the state. It is not the regular model, two cities come together. It's the process I'm very wary of. Of course, I would be the most disaffected, obviously, of any person on council. It would basically create a new council district. It would take half of my council district probably and remove it, bring in Wilkinsburg, and it would create a completely different council district whose center would probably be in Wilkinsburg. That's just the reality of what will happen at some point. And so, again, I'm not philosophically opposed to, Wilkinsburg being part of the city. I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily. I am really uncomfortable with the process. The process makes me very uncomfortable because I don't see it being democratic, actually, because I don't see all the stakeholders having equal opportunity to participate in the merger. Particularly, the voters of the city of Pittsburgh have no participation in this process. And so it's kind of weird, right? Our political people, city council, we get a vote. Wilkinsburg council doesn't get a vote. The city of Pittsburgh voters don't get a vote. The residents of Wilkinsburg do get a vote. So it's weird in that, it's not equal participation. It's really a process that seems somewhat undemocratic and somewhat unfair. So that's kind of my concern is process more than outcome. So that's what I'm thinking. I'm not comfortable with the process. And I'm also, last thing is, I'm very concerned that the elected leaders of Wilkinsburg don't feel like they're part of the process and feel like they're being bullied and taken over. I'm very concerned about that, and what that feels like. And again, I think it has some racial overtones, maybe not intentionally, but there's certainly, having been vocalized to me, the people feel that there are some problems, and so I'm not comfortable with the process. So that's what I think. Thanks for this moment.
Thank you, Reverend. And Councilwoman Gross.
Thank you, Madam President. And I really appreciate having this public hearing today and being able to hear directly from so many residents. And thank you for taking the time, both city residents, but mostly Wilkinsburg residents. I too heard a kind of a division between people who were land owners versus people who were concerned about renters and not landlords. People claiming that it was certain landowners in certain parts of Wilkinsburg who would benefit more than other parts of Wilkinsburg. I do feel like there is a lot of complexity here. And I too share Councilman Burgess's concern that I heard people saying there was a lack of information or even misinformation and disinformation that is concerning. And the way to rectify that is to continue to have conversations to make sure that there is a robust public conversation and that we can help make space for that. I also, in my homework, just so far in trying to do background research, because none of us have lived through these mergers or annexations, found that the parts of the state code that speak directly to mergers are easy to find, but the parts of state law around annexation are obscure, almost arcane. And I think I've only been able to find them as provided from the Wilkinsburg CDC's hired real estate attorney. And so it seems also that the process is not just lacks inclusivity and seems to be, the annexation process seems to be undemocratic, but is also, there's some obfuscation around it. I think it hasn't been used in 100 years. No one really knows about it. We're only getting advice, it feels like, from one side of the debate, legal advice from one side of the debate. So that part feels one-sided as well, and that concerns me. And so I believe we should keep talking. I'll be looking forward to the post agenda, where council members can get questions and answers also on the public record. And I think we have a lot more talking and listening to do, both amongst city residents and council members in Wilkinsburg and in the city of Pittsburgh. So thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Councilwoman. And tell me if I missed anybody. Councilwoman Strasburger. Is Councilman Kraus still on?
Thank you, Madam President. I really want to thank everyone for taking time out of their Saturday today, including all the individuals who gave testimony. For me, I really can't comment too much because I have so much more to learn. There are a number of facts that are missing from my understanding so far, not the least of which is the financial impact to Pittsburgh. I understand that's not the only consideration, but that is a big consideration for me. I too share the concern with the process, which I understand is based off of an older process from the early 1900s, but it doesn't eliminate my concern with it that has already been expressed by a couple of council members that the people of Pittsburgh won't be able to vote directly on this, and that the leadership, the city council of Wilkinsburg, will not be able to vote on this. It's not a deal breaker for me, but it is a concern. So I'll leave my comments at that. Much more to say. I have much more information gathering to do.
Thank you,
Madam President?
Yes, Councilman Kraus.
Hi, Madam President. Thank you very much. I don't want to repeat comments that have already been made as to process, and I do share those concerns. What I would like to add, though, is that every day, day in and day out, the 3rd Council District fights for resources, and those resources are primarily around vacant or blighted properties or demolition. I know we have all had our concerns over the years about the cost of demolition, dealing with blighted properties, and the burden that puts on taxpayers and leadership here in the city. I just want to be very mindful of the hilltop neighborhoods that I represent and resources that are scarce to begin with, and that I fight for every day to make certain there is equity in the distribution of those resources. And at the sake of repeating myself, far too often those resources are are hampered as it relates to vacant property, blighted property, absentee landlord, and demolition. So thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilman Kraus. And Councilman Wilson, I believe Councilman Wilson.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to take a moment and thank all the speakers that showed up today, whether they were for or against the decision that City Council will be, made to choose on whether or not to allow the Wilkinsburg residents to vote for the merger or not. I'm not taking this. I don't want to take this fast because the last time this happened was on the north side when it was Allegheny City, and today has been very insightful, and I'm looking forward to the post agenda so I can further determine and form my position. So I just wanted to thank everyone for showing up today. Learned a lot. Looking forward to talking to more residents of Wilkinsburg. I mean, my main thing is to talk to as many residents from Wilkinsburg as possible. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman. And I believe I've got all the council members. And so that leaves me with my comments. I will just say that I want to thank all the people who called my office yesterday. Everybody knows I have my calls transferred to my cell phone. So my phone rang all day and all night, predominantly with people in opposition, residents in opposition. I asked them to share and to contact the clerk's office so that we could share some of that with the council members as well. And I'll be glad to share some of those numbers with you too. Now, I will say that it's not that I think there's a lot of question about where I am with this. For me, this is significant for southwest of the river and also the north of side of Pittsburgh. I think that we see a lot of development happening in the East End. We see, and I've heard comments about how they can extend Bakery Square and extend the development happening. Actually, a lot of the development that had gentrified the area to begin with. So to actually exploit the Black community to say we're doing this for them is almost comical, if not, just shameful. But I will just say that for me, I think that this is more about development. I worry about what that means for our side of town. I worry about we have very little to attract developers to our side of town. And when we talk about things like inclusionary zoning and those types of things on our side, it matters on our side. We need something different for every side of the city of Pittsburgh because we are all different. We are not the same. And so we need some incentives for our side of town to spur development. And I fear that this will just be the nail in our coffin for our side of town because we will not get development. Then there will be no incentives. Why would all we're doing is adding more land to the East End to develop and to gentrify more communities. And when you say that a lot of people are leaving, yes, they're leaving. They're leaving because we're pushing them out with all these development and making the property unaffordable. So there's so many reasons why people are leaving. If you want people to stay, let's continue to make the housing southwest of the river, the affordable housing. Let's renovate those properties more vigorously. Let's make sure that we're doing what we can to help develop and build more development housing co-ops, and to make sure that we're doing things that we need to do to stabilize our areas and to keep our residents here and to offer jobs, good paying jobs where people can buy whatever type of property and home they want. It doesn't have to be affordable. It can be something really wonderful if we make sure that we're paying people well. So there's all sorts of things that need to be talked about and discussed. But for me, I think that Reverend Birch mentioned that the voters in Pittsburgh will not have a say. We are their say. At this point, we are the voice of Pittsburgh. We were elected to represent the people of Pittsburgh. And so I'm going to do what I can to protect Pittsburgh. And for me, that includes southwest of the river and the north side of Pittsburgh, because I think that there's a lot that we need to worry about, because if we don't do something to increase some stabilization, some development, and some incentives on our side of town, we're not going to be able to hold on to the affordable housing that we have. We're not going to be able to hold on to the current housing that we have. We're not going to be able to hold on to the southwest of the river in a way that it's some of the zone 6 is the safest zone in the city of Pittsburgh, because we take such great pride in our communities and we work well with our police and do some things over there. We're not going to be able to hold on to that type of living on our side of town if we don't do something soon. So to me, this is about not just about the East End and not just about Wilkinsburg and not just about a lot of opportunity for developers who want to develop. It's about Southwest and north of Pittsburgh. It's about Pittsburgh as a whole and what that means for us. So while I'm not opposed to doing, I will say I'm not opposed to a full city-county merger. I'm not for it. I'm not against it, but I'm open to hearing conversations about it. I think part of what we do is we do these types of things. We just watched this with park tax. We just watched this with the library tax. We watch this happen in our city where people with money come in, pay great PR firms, pay other firms to come in and do some of the things that they want. And then they have this say, and then they have the audacity to say they're doing it for the Black community. And to me, that is just egregious. I mean, I just think that we need to be more wise about how we do these things and do them more methodically and more inclusive, and that we are actually hearing and bringing all of our residents to the table and having conversations in both. I mean, if it was really about increasing the Black population, you could start in this West End. We border the most boroughs and we have the Stowe Rocks and McKees Rocks. We could really, but we don't have a lot of opportunity for development. So there's not a lot of dollars over there for people that want to see it happen. So for me, the marketing, the talk, the conversations are just that. They're all talking points to try to sway people to do what they want them to do, or to sway people to go for this without having a real conversation and real plan in place on how we're doing this and doing it right in the city of Pittsburgh. It's not okay just to say we've done it. We've got to do things and do it right to benefit everyone, the residents of Pittsburgh and of our boroughs surrounding us. So that's it for me. Is there anything else from members? Councilman Coghill.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to push back just a little bit on this division I feel was created. I've talked to both sides, pro and for this merger with Wilkinsburg. And I will tell you, the people who are for the merger, I think, love Wilkinsburg as much as people who are not for it. They just have different philosophies. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear. I don't think it has anything to do with somebody, doing something, that's not quite right for the district. I find that people in Wilkinsburg are very proud people. I find they all love the neighborhood, again, whether they're for or against. So that being said.
Yeah. And I'm just gonna say, I'm not saying that somebody doesn't care about Wilkinsburg. I'm saying they do also care about things that maybe shouldn't be their top priority. And what I will say is that my concern is what it means for Pittsburgh residents at this point. So, and especially our side of town. With that said, is there anything else from members? Seeing none, can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
In a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Meetings adjourned.